How y'all doing today? Hope everybody been good. Hope you had a good holidays with the family. Hey, I know we got another big holiday coming up, 2026. So basically want to drop in and give y'all a little video about the new year. And with the video, I got 8 questions to ask yourself going into 2026. And starting off, I want to say first thing, the calendar going from a 5 to a 6 is not magically going to change your situation. Obviously, we feel the new energy. Me personally, when it was, every new year, January 1st, I feel like it's a new chapter. It's a refreshing start. But I'm also aware that usually that energy, that new energy flow, it disappears in like a week or two. And showing y'all statistically, if we look at, we might have New Year's resolutions. Only 10% of people fulfill their New Year's resolutions. If you look at by February, 80% of people that gave up already. So that's what I want to emphasize is like not really focusing on just like the new year, new me, but really focusing on your day-to-day habits, making sure that March 3rd, we're still doing what we're supposed to do on a day-to-day. And it might be where it's rough. Like you might be inconsistent with it, but it's okay as long as we keep working towards it. So that's why I wanted to, talk about before getting into the questions. But let's go ahead and get into the video. The first question I want to ask is making sure we paying our taxes, and this is more catered to my business owners and self-employed people because when you have your job, you get your paycheck. You tell your job to take out your taxes for you, but when it comes to business owners and self-employed people, we have to pay our taxes ourselves. So some of us might not be aware that we even had to pay taxes. I see a lot of times where I see like people be DoorDash and then Instacart and stuff, and they making a lot of money, but they're not paying their taxes and they're not putting money up for their taxes. And I just seen horror stories where it might be 2-3 years and now you get hit with a $45,000 tax bill. And one thing about Uncle Sam, he gonna get his money one way or another. So just want to emphasize making sure we're paying our taxes. And hold up, y'all. If we are business owners, practical things that we could do is making sure, for one, we're tracking all our expenses and all the income that's coming into our business. So whether that's on a piece of paper or that's on a spreadsheet or whatnot, making sure you tracking every time a customer pays you, and making sure every time you had to spend money for the business, deductions, expenses. And what that does is that helps make it easier on your tax person. So, and maybe if you have like more complex situation where it's getting a little, you might have to outsource that, but that helps make things a lot easier when you go see your tax person. And my next recommendation is to don't reach out to your tax person just when it's tax time. Like it's beginning of year tax time, you gotta start talking to these people throughout the year. I gotta get better at this myself. Like start talking to them throughout the year, seeing different strategies and things that can help you with your tax savings. Because taxes is one of those things, if you don't pay attention, you will miss out on a lot of money. That could be like a real wealth killer in a sense. So making sure we're talking to our tax people throughout the year of how to do different things, different ways we can save on our taxes. And to not just my business owner, but my self-employed people, where we might be DoorDash and we might be Instacart and stuff, we still had to pay taxes. So I DoorDash and Instacart a lot, making sure a big expense with that is the miles on your car. Like you driving a lot of miles, so making sure you're tracking your miles. And a couple apps I use is Stride and TripLog. So every time you DoorDash, let's say you DoorDash for example, every time you DoorDash, turn on the app and it tracks your miles. And what that does is basically what we call deductions. And deductions is basically any ordinary expense that you need for like your business. So in DoorDash, you gotta drive. So every time all these miles, they add up, and what they can do is they lower your tax bill where you have to pay less in taxes. So making sure we're tracking our miles. And even with the business owner thing, you have to, like I said, when you work your job, you got it where they take out your taxes for you when you get your check. But being a business owner and self-employed person, you have to pay your taxes by yourself. And it's one of these things where, say if you, I'm just throwing numbers out there, but let's say if you owe 10,000 in tax, you had to pay 10,000 in taxes for the year. It ain't one of these things where you get at the end of the year you just pay that 10,000. They call it estimated quarterly taxes. So you pay it throughout the year, so it's not as big as a bill. And I used to pay mine monthly just to make it a little bit easier, but you at least want to be paying them quarterly. So you split that. If say if it was 10,000 at the end of the year, you split that up quarterly, like 2,500, 2,500, 2,500, 2,500. And that's these things. That's one of the things where when you talk to your tax professional, they'll tell you like what percentage of your profits or your check do you put for taxes, and you put that up, and then every month or every quarter you pay your estimated taxes. And it's pretty simple. You would go to irs.gov if you already don't have a account. Go ahead and create one, and basically you would go to make a payment, and you select the option, and you would pay estimated tax, and you would set up your bank account, and they'll just take it out your bank account. You pay that. Like I said, you can pay it every quarter. Me personally, I used to pay mine every month just to make it a lot easier. But that's the first question I had, making sure we're taking our taxes seriously, and are we paying our taxes, because that could be a real wealth killer in the long run. And like I said, you don't want to get hit with a random $50,000 IRS bill. Like I've really seen, not in my real life, well, I seen a person get hit with a $15,000 tax bill in real life, but who just want to pay Uncle Sam just to pay him? Well, that could have been avoided. My next question is, are we neglecting our financial base? And what I mean by that is, a lot of us have a lot of big goals going into the new year, and that's cool. That's a good thing. We want to be able to, but making sure we're handling the basics in the background. So I remember, if you're not familiar with the financial base, I was talking about, I had made a video. Let me see if I can find that video. I made a video a couple weeks, and it's 5 things you must do financially building out your financial base. So basically just getting back to the basics and making sure we're doing the basics, as well as also along chasing the big things. So main thing, making sure, I was just talking about in your business, tracking your income and expenses, making sure in your personal life you're doing the same thing. We have to be able to see our financial picture, and we have to be able to see like our spending habits and things, so that we can know how to pivot from there. Building an emergency fund, and also clearing out consumer debt. And I talk about a couple more things in that video, so if you haven't watched that video, please go check it out. And if you're not familiar, I also dive even deeper in various videos, like splitting up. Like if you're not familiar with an emergency fund, I got a video on that. If you're not familiar with tracking your income and expenses, I got a video on how to do that. So if you haven't seen any of the videos, definitely go check them out if you want to understand like that terminology and thing. And if you need help like building out your basics or your financial base, because in the video I gave a prime example of, let's say you don't have 500 saved, and you talking about getting into the stock market. My bad, y'all. Shit. My bad, y'all. You don't have 500 saved, but you're talking about getting into the stock market. So you're going to go put 500 in the stock market, and then your car going to break down. That's going to cost 500. So you're going to take that 500 right out the stock market. You can just base it back where you started. So making sure we're building our base out first before we start. You can chase the big things, but along chasing the big things, making sure you're doing that as well, because if we don't do that, every time our financial house is going to collapse because we don't have a strong base. So that's the second question. First question was making sure, are we paying our taxes? Are we taking our taxes serious? The second question, are you building out your financial base? And next, my next question is, are we getting started? And not really going to go into a deep dive on this one, but yeah, it's 2026. We can't be sitting on the sidelines forever, whatever it be. Whether you're talking about going back to school, starting a business, whatever. We have to be practical. We have to get started, because y'all know for a fact, time is not waiting on nobody. Look at how long I be thinking all the time, like, man, it felt like I was a kid just yesterday. Like, time is really, really flying by. So we have to not waste it. We don't want to be in a couple years from now like, man, I should have did it. Just go ahead and do it. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, like, it's not a guarantee whatever you want to do, whether it be, whatever you're doing, going to work out. But I know for a fact, 100,000% it's not going to work out if you don't start. So just get started. I ain't even going to go on a deep dive on that one. And my next question is, what truly makes us happy? What makes you happy? And this leads into like the financial question of like, why do we buy so many things? Because if you look at statistically, the things that make us happy is not really the money and the nice car and the big house. It's usually just the simple stuff of like being around our family and friends, building strong relationships, being healthy, working out, getting that real dopamine, and be experiencing life, not really buying things. So I've always asked, like, why in America's the richest country in the world, but we're not even top 20 in happiness when it comes to statistics. Like, I haven't traveled out the country yet, but if we look at, one thing I always hear from people that do travel out the country often is when they travel out the country, they notice people are a lot happier. So how are people that have a lot less than us appreciate life more? So we have to ask that question. The next thing I want to ask, hold up, give me 1 second, y'all. My bad, y'all. But the happiness question leads into my next question is, why are we so materialistic as a people? Why are we such consumers? And me asking that, I understand why, because it's like, as a society, we're taught to be consumers from when we're born. But eventually you want to sit back and ask yourself the questions like, are these things I'm buying, is that really making me happy? And I want to show y'all this video real quick that I watched the other day about Christmas spending. Hold up. My bad, y'all. Let's see.
Christmas today, and I was reading, it's called the National Retail Federation. I was just reading a report because I'm a nerd and that's what I do. And it said that holiday shopping is supposed to surpass $1 trillion for the first time ever. Why that's interesting? Because 70% of our GDP is made up of consumer purchases, right? So we live in a world of consumerism. One of the reasons we always talk about the idea of investing in the market is because you're basically investing in our country. And the other thing you're investing is capitalism and consumerism. And the one thing we know is this country is full of consumerism, right? 70% of our GDP is made up of consumer spending, and no one will ever stop spending. So during this holiday season, what tends to happen is money flows from the household to the corporations. And what makes it even more interesting is most of it is on debt. This is not based on income. No one's making any more money. In fact, some will say we're not making enough money considering inflation and how much things cost. So a lot of this goes back to debt. So some of y'all are going in debt to make purchases for the holiday season. And some of y'all are even worse. You putting in wild parlays trying to, catch a lick for the holiday season.
You think this shit is fucking cool? Nah, man. Ooh, we're failing as a people.
But the point is, looking at it from a different standpoint, one of the reasons why it's important to always be invested in the market is to understand that this will never stop. So if the stock market goes away, that means that consumerism is gone. Now, trying to pick individual stocks may be problematic because companies, they come, they go, they create, they grow, they die. But the overall market, as a wealth building machine, won't go anywhere, because if that goes somewhere, that means that we're in trouble from a whole different standpoint. So first of all, be careful in terms of your spending during this holiday season. Don't be, out going crazy, going into all kinds of debt. Life goes on after the holiday season. Some of us will be part of that $1 trillion that's being spent, but don't go too far into debt, or don't go into debt at all. Matter of fact, January starting, right? Here's what I want you to do. Starting in January, set up a little side account, little bucket account every time.
My bad, y'all. I ain't even mean to play it that long, but my bad. But yeah, I was watching that video. I thought that was really interesting. Like, $1 trillion is crazy. And with the Christmas thing, definitely want to make sure you get the kids right, for sure. But past that, as long as the kids straight, I don't think, me personally, I really don't feel like a person should be going into, like, literally where you had to go into debt just to make sure, like, say, look, with the adults and stuff, you got to make sure you get everybody a present. Like, I was trying to explain to my grandma, I love you, you love me. You do not have to get me anything. We love each other. Like, that's what I like Christmas for. Like, just being around family and, just being around your people. Like, you remember what we just said a couple minutes ago with the happiness? Like, being around your people is the real happiness. Like, things aren't usually what leads to true happiness, if we're being honest. And as a culture, we're just so materialistic and we just love things. And my question is, are those things leading to us being wealthy? And just being honest, no, it's not. And past Christmas, I just brought up the Christmas example because I seen that video and it was recent. But if we look at the designer, that's one example where I just 100% don't agree with. Well, I don't agree with it if you can't really afford it. Like, just like if you make $40,000 a year, I think that's a good income. I think you can do a lot with $40,000. But if you make a $40,000 worrying about a $2,000 bag, like just me personally, me personally, in my opinion, I feel like that's a problem. And if we look at designer, and I'm sorry, I keep looking down because I'm looking at my notes. If we look at the designer thing, like I just don't agree with buying designer if you can't afford it. Like if you can afford it, cool. And I mean by that is if I have $100 and I go into the store, I buy a $1 bag of chips, you're gonna look at me, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know what I'm saying? It's all about perspective and your income. But I see a lot of times where we simply don't need to be buying these things, which is designer, and we're buying them. Like to me, it's just ego. It's just the designer thing is I'm spending a lot of money on something to show people that I got money, and most of the time the person don't even have money. And I want to show y'all this. I want to show y'all this video. So it's this video that came out, and hopefully they don't copyright me. Excuse me. It was this video that came out in 1954. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. 1954 is 2025, about to be 2026. So that's what, 70, 71, 72 years ago. And with the video, it was basically like, I didn't do like a whole little deep dive on it, but it basically from my perspective, it made it seem like, okay, they were trying to make this advertisement video to show that black people had money to spend. Like, black people had a lot of money to spend. So trying to show like to the white business and stuff like, hey, let these people be our customers. Like, they have money. And they were basically showing like how to sell to the Negro, like marketing, like how to market to the Negro. And I thought it was interesting because I see a lot of it is still going on today, 70 years later. Let me play a little bit for it. Like I said, hopefully they don't copyright me.
Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise.
And like I was saying, I still see that 70 years later. Like, we love, for whatever reason, well, I know why, but we love designer as a community. And we really had to ask ourselves, is that helping us become wealthier? It's not. And you got to ask yourself a question. Do you really want to get wealthy, or do you want to look like it? A lot of us in our community, we just simply want to look like we have money when we don't have no money. Like, if all your money is going towards bills and nice clothes, and it's not wealth in my opinion, you know, because a lot of us, we just simply don't know. Like, we were taught since a young kid to get the really big house and get the nice car and but we weren't really taught to get the money along with it, which we're getting the money, but we're not saving the money, we're not keeping the money, we're not investing the money into the right things. We're investing the money into liabilities, which is not helping us long term on the wealth side. And I look at an example of, what's bro name? Top 10. His name, I always say his name wrong. Bernard Arnault. So, my bad, y'all. What am I doing? My bad, y'all. If you look at the example of Bernard Arnault, he became the richest person in the world during the pandemic. And even today, I still think he's one of the top 10 richest people. For one, a lot of people don't even know who he is. And I'm not saying that if you buy designer, you need to know these owners, because on the other side, I buy a lot of off-brand and stuff, and I don't know the owners of them. I'm not saying that, but it's just interesting. If you look at it, he became the richest person in the world during the pandemic. And what does he own? LVMH. If you look at like what LVMH owns, is like Louis Vuitton, all the designer brands and stuff like that. And they tried to say, I even seen some people be like, oh man, he became the richest person in the world during the pandemic because black people had all that pandemic money and they blew it all, which I don't believe at all. But look at like how they're trying to, look at how they even like play with this. Like, we have to ask ourselves, are we going to forever be consumers, or eventually we're going to try to get on that other side of ownership? Like, is we taking all our extra money and just buying designer and getting all these other people rich, or are we eventually trying to become owners and invest? And you seen in the video with the video I showed y'all a minute ago with the Christmas thing, he was saying, using the stock market as an example, like, it's what they call like a transfer of wealth. So are we going to continue to get these people wealthy and wealthy, or eventually are we trying to get on that other side as well and become owners and stuff? Because a lot of people don't even know who, like I said, a lot of people don't even know who Bernard Arnault is. But look at it, you know, look at top 10 richest people. You look at all the tech giants. You got Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark, all these. But that's not even, if you look at luxury, that's more like retail. Like, that's not even tech. So I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I think that's pretty interesting. And I got a couple quotes for y'all. When you get over the good look, you can get some good money. Like, eventually we're gonna have to wake up one day and like, okay, what am I even buying this stuff for? Just to impress people that don't have no money. Like, it's just a forever cycle that it's really confusing to me. And I'm a person, I've never bought designer before. I'm not saying you don't gotta buy designer, but you don't have to not buy designer. But if you're a person that don't afford it, I don't think you should be buying designer. And I got another quote for y'all. Is when you buy a nice thing, it's just a nice thing. And to me, it's just ego. Like, we're letting people know hey, y'all, I can afford this, and you really can't afford it most of the time. So we had to really ask ourselves, are we trying to get wealthy, or do we want to just look wealthy? And are we trying to get on that other side? You remember last week I said new world wealth. Are we trying to enter that world of money, or are we just going to continue to let these people get richer and richer and richer? Y'all keep hearing the same thing. The rich are going to continue to get richer, and the poor are going to continue to get poorer. We eventually want, I'm not saying we're poor or anything, but we eventually want to get on the side where we're trying to put our money into things that's going to help us, instead of just buying, I don't want to use the word dumb shit, but I mean, to me, designer is dumb shit. Like, I can go buy a shirt that costs $10, or I can go buy a shirt that's $1,000 because of the brand. I don't know, it just don't make sense to me. And I want to give y'all a term, well, I like to say freedom over materialism. I always like to talk about freedom because a lot of us don't really understand what that means. And I ain't gonna say I understand it, but I definitely understand materialism. Buying materialistic stuff usually hinders you having freedom. If you're spending all your money on the nice thing, whether it be clothes, the nice car, typically you have to work for that, and then you don't have no money left over, so now all your money is going to bills and that nice thing. And like I said, when are we ever gonna try to change that? You know, it feels good to where you don't have to worry about bills, and you don't have to think about how I'm gonna pay this, and it's not necessarily from a perspective of a person making all this money. It's for your expenses are low. You don't really, and it goes back to the point where I keep asking, it goes back to that question where I asked, what makes you happy? Did you see anywhere on that list, or you do studies anywhere on that list where designer and buying expensive stuff makes you happy in the long run? I didn't see it, you know. So just a question, just food for thought. My next question is, how much time are we spending on social media? I ain't gonna lie, it's addicting. You remember last week's video, I said the same thing, and I don't think it's really helping us as a people from a financial perspective to a mental perspective. Like, we need to start, me personally as well, I need to start figuring out how can I, get off social media. And for the past couple of years, I've been doing decent, but even these past couple months, I've been finding myself back on there, and finding different things I could do. So lately I've been trying to do whereas I'm only on the weekend, or I might do it where only on the end of the day I get on and check in. But definitely trying to find different ways of where I can get off of it as much as possible, because what is it doing for us? And it's the thing where we have to ask ourselves, what are we consuming? From food down to the mental, social media is just not doing anything for us. And that leads to my next, it's not really a question, but just getting healthier habits, because it ain't one of these things where something is addicting and you're not just going to be able to, okay, I'm going to log off my social media, I'm not going to get on no more. No, you got to find stuff to do in the meantime that's doing good for you. Yes, it might be a lot more boring, like working out or spending time with your people sometimes, but that really helping your mental, I feel like. Then my next question I got is, outside of your 9 to 5, what are you doing to get ahead? I don't even know if it's like optional at this point of just working one job, but because you know how things get so expensive. But I mean, we at that point. I hate to say it, but for some of us at least, it might be where you, after you get off work, you might have to do 2 hours on DoorDash, get an extra little bit of extra money so you could fund your savings or whatnot. It might be where you, after you get off work, you might have to spend 2-3 hours. You were trying to build your business. You want to, maybe you might want to get out your job, or you might want to just, you know, have some extra money. It might be where, okay, on the way to work, I might not listen to music the whole time. I might listen to a little podcast where I'm trying to change my, you know, learning the mindset. It might be where I want to learn about stock market, or I might want to learn about Bitcoin. I might want to learn about business. And, you know, I'm going to keep saying it, like, we have to enter into this world of wealth that we ain't really in right now. So, you know, what are we doing, you know, outside of work? What are you doing in this consistently? Like, it might not, like I said, it might be 30 minutes a day. It might be where at the end of the week, I check my budget and I'm seeing where I'm spending my money. Like, you just have to start doing the little small things consistently. It might not be where you're doing it a lot right now, but just doing it small, consistent is going to build up. And my last question that I want to ask on this video is, I was watching this video the other day and they was talking about how, like, life is full of math equations consistently. So my question is, what's the probability that I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to be financially secure in the future? And you have to look at your day-to-day habits and ask yourself, is what I'm doing day-to-day going to help me be financially secure in the future? And a lot of us going to realize it's not. It goes back to the buying the designer thing. Like, it's me buying design all the time and me flexing on people. Is that going to help me be? No, it's not. So we have to ask ourselves, are we really trying to get wealthy and be secure financially? And it's one of these things where you're not going to do, every decision in your life is not going to be dedicated to money and being smart with your finance. That would be a miserable life, but we have to get it to where at least some of these things are, you know, where we're doing something. And me personally, I just can't agree with, like, the whole hope and a prayer. I'm just going to wish and hope that I'm going to be rich or whatever one day, and I'm not going to put any work in. I just don't agree with that. I feel like if you consistently work on the little things in real life day to day, the chances of you being wealthy in the future will increase tenfold from a probability perspective. Like I said, your life is full of math equations. So what's the probability of you being wealthy in the future? And I like to call it aggressive patience. Well, I ain't come up with that. I seen that one day where it's like, when it comes to, like, goals and trying to reach success and whatnot, it's aggressive in the fact I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to work day to day, like time in, time out. That's the aggressive part, but the patience part is I'm not for sure when I'm going to reach it. But until then, I'm just going to keep working. And if you work on that goal or whatever it is, you keep going towards it, that's cool. You put your work in, you did it. But this hope and a prayer, this la fantasy manifestation thing, I'm not saying you can't manifest stuff, but I see people where they, like, manifest and they don't do no work in real life. Like, to me, it's never going to work. And it might be a situation where I'm always use this probability of, like, it's a really, really, really small percentage. It's a really, really small chance. And this might be the year where somebody becomes a millionaire off of luck, whether it be the lottery or they just, you know what I'm saying, they lucked up whatever happened. But most people, it's not going to happen. So just working day to day on your consistent habits. Where are you spending your money on? Where are you consuming, like, mentally, health? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to really ask ourselves. And a lot of people realize, like, okay, I'm not going towards a path of wealth. How can I change that? And if y'all still here, man, I truly appreciate y'all. I ain't mean to talk y'all heads out today, but, you know, I just had a couple things I wanted to say going into 2026. If y'all could like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, I truly appreciate y'all. If y'all have any questions, please reach out, and y'all stay blessed.